Why indeed search for God? That's quite a question.
It really is.
It comes from this YouTube video exploring the spiritual meaning of the very first mantra of the Rigveda. It definitely makes you pause.
It does. And that's exactly where we're going today in this deep dive.
Right.
Our mission, isn't just a simple translation. We want to really get into the insights the video offers about the divine, Paramatma, and our connection to it.
Kind of like uncovering the foundation.
Exactly. The foundation for a whole spiritual tradition presented through this one mantra.
Okay, let's get into it. So this first mantra. The video focuses heavily on the metaphor of Agni, fire. We all know fire, but how does it symbolize Paramatma? Why fire?
Well, the reasoning the video gives is quite elegant, actually. It draws a parallel.
A parallel.
Yeah, between the individual soul, the jeevatma, that's us, the consciousness in the body, and Paramatma.
Okay.
So just like the jeevatma leads our body, our senses, Paramatma is presented as the leader of, well, everything, the whole creation.
Ah, so Agni represents that leadership, that initiating power.
Precisely. That power to start things, to guide. It's likened to fire. Think about it. Fire initiates. It leads change.
That makes sense. You need fire to start so many things, like a yagya, the video mentions that, the fire ritual.
Absolutely essential, yes. Fire has to be there first. So Paramatma, as Agni, is seen as that initial spark, the one igniting creation.
Okay.
And there's another layer the video points out, which I found interesting.
Oh, yeah.
It says the one who brings Agni, who connects with this divine fire, is also Agni in essence.
Suggesting a kind of unity.
Exactly, a fundamental unity. Plus, Paramatma isn't just the initiator, but the embodiment of all these energies, heat, light, nature itself, the leader of all that.
So Paramatma isn't some, distant watchmaker who wound things up and left?
Not at all, according to this interpretation. The video stresses this constant presence, being absolute everywhere.
Everywhere.
Omnipresent, from the tiniest subatomic particle to the largest structures in the cosmos.
Right, it connects to that Upanishadic saying,
Anuranayan Mahato Mahan.
That's the one. Smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest.
Exactly. It pushes our understanding beyond just physical space, doesn't it?
It really does. Now, the video also calls Paramatma Purohit, which usually makes you think of a priest. But the video says it's broader here.
Much broader, yes. The interpretation offered is that Purohit means always present before us, the foremost one, the orchestrator.
Okay, so first Agni, the initiator, now Purohit, the constant presence, the orchestrator.
Right, building on that. And it suggests Paramatma is the impeller behind all our actions, the source of well-being for every single being.
The ultimate source of well-being. That connects to why the universe was created, right? The video touches on that.
It does briefly, yeah. It mentions the deeper why might be for another time, but suggests it was for the benefit of us, the jeevatmas.
For us to experience things. Utilize creation.
And ultimately, potentially, to achieve liberation. Moksha. And it highlights this opportunity, both enjoyment and liberation, as unique to humans.
But what about suffering? The video acknowledges that.
It does. It attributes suffering to our own actions, karma, or maybe the actions of others. But, and this is key, the underlying message is that Paramatma is still the ultimate well-wisher.
It points out how we've been given all these resources. Air, water, the earth.
Incredible gifts.
And then notes, well, we're the ones who've polluted them. It seems like it's drawing a line there between not recognizing the divine in creation and the suffering we cause or experience.
Exactly. The video seems to propose that this lack of understanding, this failure to acknowledge the divine source, leads to disharmony. And that, in turn, leads to suffering.
So it puts the responsibility back on our awareness, our actions.
Very much so. It's about recognizing that connection.
Okay, let's shift to the attributes of Paramatma described. The source of all light. Sun, moon, stars.
Yes, eliminating everything through these Rasmi rays or energies.
But it's more than just physical light.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
The description is almost paradoxical from our limited view. Beyond needing to move, yet everywhere.
Right.
Without physical hands, yet the very center of everything. It emphasizes this formless, all-pervading, all-powerful nature.
Like the internet analogy you mentioned earlier, no location, but accessible everywhere.
Something like that, yeah. Transcending physical limits, but being the underlying reality.
So controller, but also the giver of the light of knowledge.
Yes. And there's that interesting analogy about wealth.
Oh, right. That our possessions aren't really ours.
And that Paramatma can, in essence, reclaim them. It really challenges our sense of ownership, doesn't it?
It does. If everything belongs to Paramatma, why are we so anxious about holding on to things?
It's a profound point. And this scales up, you know, from our small possessions right up to the cosmos. Paramatma rotating galaxies.
Immeasurable power.
Truly beyond our grasp, sustaining Earth, the heavens. The core idea the video presents is that recognizing this ultimate ownership should foster stewardship, humility.
And this ties into the cycles of creation.
Exactly. The video describes Paramatma as orchestrating the whole cycle. Creation, then sustenance, then dissolution.
And this cycle is elorle, without beginning.
Evolate without end.
Yeah.
That's the concept. It's cyclical, ongoing.
Wow.
Paramatma is called Vishwacha Jasa Deva in this context.
Meaning?
The one who animates everything, controls everything with might. It highlights the dynamism within this endless cycle.
So where do we fit into all this? What's our relationship with this incredibly powerful divine being, according to the video?
Well, the emphasis is that Paramatma gives us everything. Life itself, our bodies, even the results, the fruits of our actions.
Okay.
So when we make offerings like Havan or lighting a lamp, offering food, the video presents these as symbolic.
Symbolic? How so?
Because Paramatma doesn't need anything from us. The offering is more about our recognition, our gratitude, our connection.
That makes sense. And Paramatma is called Ratnadhatavam.
Yes, meaning the best among those who possess treasures. Or maybe the ultimate possessor of all treasures.
Because all treasures belong to Paramatma anyway.
That's the reasoning given. We humans just use what's already been created by the divine. They're borrowers, in a way.
So it's a call to see the real owner behind everything?
Precisely. And that's where the core call of the mantra comes in, as the video interprets it. To actively search for, to know, and ultimately find this Paramatma who's everywhere, timeless.
Why is knowing this so important, then? The video uses that teacher-student analogy.
Right, which is quite effective, I think. Even if a teacher knows their students well, there's still that awareness of a higher authority, you know?
Yeah.
It shapes the interaction.
It provides context, accountability.
Exactly. And the other analogy about resources, if we think something is just ours, we might misuse it.
Like the pollution point earlier.
But recognizing the true source, the divine, fosters responsibility, care.
And Paramatma is the ultimate authority, residing in the Akshar Paramivaman.
The supreme overseer, watching over the whole universe, every element. Understanding this, that what we think is ours is actually divine. It really shifts our perspective, doesn't it?
Completely. We become recipients. Yachak, the video called it.
Yes, recipients of what the divine gives. It uses the bank manager analogy, too.
Right. They give us our money, but they don't just take it for themselves. They get a salary.
Whereas Paramatma gives selflessly, without expecting anything back in that transactional way. The creation itself is for our benefit.
And this understanding, the video suggests, should lead to more responsible living.
It should naturally encourage it. If we see our possessions as ultimately belonging to Paramatma, we treat them with more respect, like kids respecting their parents' things.
It's a good image.
And it directly counters ego, that tendency to think we're superior, or that what we have is solely down to us.
Because recognizing the source should curb pride.
It should foster humility, yes. The video also brings in the contrast between our temporary physical body and the eternal soul, and reminds us Paramatma is always present, always observing.
Which leads to the critique of superficial devotion.
Yes, that apparent contradiction. People who seem devout outwardly, but whose actions don't align. Dishonesty, corruption.
Why does that happen, according to the video?
The core reason given is a lack of true, deep-seated belief in the divine's constant presence and awareness. It's maybe an intellectual belief, but not a lived reality for them.
So rituals, prostrations, they're not enough on their own.
Not without that constant underlying awareness of the divine's true nature, formless, all-powerful, everywhere. The video suggests those outward acts become ineffective without the inner transformation.
The video also mentioned misinterpretations, dividing the divine up between different religions or places.
Right, compartmentalizing it. The argument is that this division comes from not grasping the singular, all-encompassing nature of the divine.
So it's pushing for a more unified view.
A unifying perspective, yes.
Sure.
Recognizing the single source behind diverse expressions of faith.
So how do we get to that deeper understanding then? What's the path the video suggests?
It really emphasizes understanding creation, srishti. That's the crucial first step.
Understanding the world around us first.
Exactly. The analogy used is practical. You examine a body for signs of life to see if the soul is present.
Okay.
So the Rigvedic approach, as interpreted here, is to understand the material world as the foundation for spiritual understanding,
It connects atavism, foundational science, or understanding creation.
with Atma, spirituality. They're presented as intrinsically linked.
And it criticizes trying to jump straight to spirituality without understanding reality.
Yes, likening it to walking into deeper darkness. It points to the natural order: seed, sprout, plant, fruit. Understand the process is key. Knowing creation should lead you to the Creator.
It's like the divine lays out the creation first.
Beautifully put, yes. Reveals the masterpiece and then invites us. Know this, recognize me in it, attain me.
Like checking out a house before you meet the owner.
That's the analogy used. Examine the property first. Understand the universe, understand ourselves within it. And that naturally leads to realizing our connection to the divine owner
The jeevatma, the soul, is like a resident.
in the house of the body. And Ishwar, the divine, is the ultimate owner of it all. Realizing that ownership, the video argues, is vital for everyone's well-being.
It's like progressing through education, you need the basics first.
Absolutely. Understand the system creation before you can fully grasp the owner. It references Ishwar idam sarvam
All this is pervaded by the Lord.
and Prajapati, the nourisher, the creator of all beings.
The video made that interesting historical point, too, about a possible past unity. One Vedic Dharma, one language, Sanskrit.
It suggests a time when this shared understanding of creation, self, and the divine led to greater harmony and happiness, a perspective offered.
It circles back, though, to a very personal, introspective point at the end.
It does, a powerful call, especially to those who proclaim faith or lead others.
To really look inward and ask, do I truly believe God is always present? In my actions, my thoughts?
Right, and it uses that anecdote, the teacher with the religious thread.
Who didn't always act like he remembered the divine presence.
Exactly. It highlights the gap that can exist. True devotion, the video argues, must translate into ethical daily conduct.
Otherwise, rituals, pilgrimages, they don't really work. You can't fool the divine.
That's the core message. The divine is all-knowing.
And the root of wrongdoing, then, is this lack of true knowledge, even if you intellectually believe.
Yes, a disconnect. Similar, perhaps, to how we intellectually know we'll die, but don't always live with that deep awareness guiding us.
So understanding creation is key to reducing wrongdoing, because it helps you truly know the divine.
That's the connection the video makes. Understanding the creation leads to knowing the Creator, which should transform behavior.
You can fool people, maybe, but not the divine, not your inner self.
Precisely. You can't deceive that inner knowing or the divine presence. Which brings us right back to the essence of that very first mantra.
The call to reflect. Do we really believe?
Yeah.
Constantly.
And the challenge, to practice what we preach or even what we understand intellectually, it's hard, but essential for real benefit.
So understanding creation, ourselves, the divine, that should guide how we live.
Yes. That first mantra isn't just a verse. The video presents it as the initial revelation, a path for our whole life. And it hints that Vedic knowledge is vast, infinite really, Ananta Veda.
It's amazing how much comes from just that one mantra as the video unpacks it. We've covered Agni, Purahit, the divine attributes, the cycles.
Creation, our relationship, the importance of knowing, the pitfalls of superficiality.
And crucially, understanding creation first. It all flows from that initial question.
Why search for God? The answer offered is compelling, because understanding the divine, starting with creation, is the key to a more meaningful, responsible, liberated life.
So, for you listening, as you think about this deep dive, maybe consider this. How does understanding this deep interconnectedness between creation and the divine actually change how you view your daily actions, your choices, your responsibilities?
It's worth reflecting on. We encourage you to keep exploring these ideas. Maybe think about your own beliefs and actions in light of this ancient wisdom.
And definitely stay with us, because next time we plan to tackle some of the questions you might have about all this, picking up on a suggestion from the video itself.